She's a real woman with a real life. She's someone you can relate to. Dawn Newton.
Hey, welcome to the Dawn Newton Podcast. I am your host, Dawn Newton. Joining me in studio, Dr. Michelle Jackson. She's back to talk all things New Year. You know, when we talk about resolutions, is it that New Year, New You type of thing? Or is it more about breaking free from old habits and patterns? Maybe celebrating where you are. Maybe just building off of the previous year. What's the psychology around resolutions? The social norms, the self-sabotage? How about just honoring yourself, giving yourself grace? And to touch on the diet and health piece, how about when move more and eat less isn't working? In studio with me again, and we're going to be dragging her in here as often as she'll let me, Dr. Michelle K. Jackson.
Hello.
Naturopathic physician here in Bend, Oregon.
Yes.
And thanks for coming in.
Of course.
I think that's one of our New Year's resolutions is to do these segments. And right now, everything's kind of calm and quiet as far as life goes, you know, easing back into it. But who knows what next month?
Exactly. We've got best laid plans just go astray. But no, this is fun. We've got, Dawn and I have some ideas for some shows, but yeah, maybe listeners can give us ideas too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That interaction is really important. Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's the thing too, when we talk about the New Year's and New Year's resolutions and we set these goals and we've got it all charted or whatever it is we're doing, and then life gets in the way.
Yes.
Like I said, you know, kind of jokingly saying, well, this is our goal, but who knows what life's going to bring that is not on our chart,
yes,
on our little punch list of things that kind of does throw a big wrench in it. And I think that's part of that whole goal thing is being prepared for those curveballs.
Mm-hmm. The planning and having the mindset. In fact, if anybody, I wanted to tell a quick story. Like, if anybody listened to last month, we were talking about holiday stress and doing less. I failed with the capital F. So, I had all these goals of like, okay, I'm not going to do as much and this and that went by the wayside. But I'm not being hard on myself and reset and try again next year. So that can be the same thing with these resets on if you get off task with your goal, with your New Year's goal.
Did you realize you were stressing? Did you realize while it was happening?
Yes, I did. And my family was telling me too. No, but yes, exactly. Just kind of got going and snowballing and like, oh, I'm going to do this and this and this and that. And oh yeah, it just went downhill.
But then what was that self-talk? Were you beating yourself up? Were you like, God dang it, Michelle? Or did you laugh? Did you go, oh my God, practice what you preach?
Right, exactly.
All of those things.
Yes, it's being gentle with yourself. We all make mistakes, and you don't just then throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's like, okay, let's try to learn from that. Like, why did that fail? And it's the same thing with New Year's resolutions, because everybody, I shouldn't say that, most people, I'm sure, have set New Year's resolutions and they haven't followed through on them. And if you can try to learn, well, why? Why did that happen? And don't beat yourself up.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because I've always thought, what is this New Year's resolution thing? Why are we so gung-ho and ready to get back in the gym? And there's not a treadmill for anybody because it's all packed type of thing. But then I think about, from like Halloween on, it's just nothing but food and candy and sugar and gatherings and liquid libations and all the cookie exchanges, the pies, the turkey, the gravy. I mean, when you look at it, it's like, well, yeah, I think by that time, it's like, I'm over all the food.
Yes.
I want it. And clearly,
it's
I think
time
that's
for a reset.
In your body.
Yes.
Especially when your mind is saying, I just want a salad.
Yeah. I think as we, or at least I do, and I think most people really crave routine, and we like routine. And the holidays themselves, your whole routine gets out of kilter, and that only lasts so long before you're ready for a reset. That's part of the new year.
Well, it's interesting because in our talking points, is some history that I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah, I know. I had so much fun with that. I wasn't either. And they, and I don't even know who they is, so the historians have attributed the ancient Babylonians, which are a group of people who lived in present-day Iraq, that I guess they made promises to the gods, therefore hoping to get good favor for the upcoming year. So, for example, they might promise to have the most successful harvest. And by demonstrating and doing that goal, that they were true to their word, that they were good people, that then they would receive good karma from these same gods. So that's who they attribute the whole New Year's resolution to. So I thought that was really interesting. But I do think the New Year's, it's almost a spiritual, just the New Year itself represents new beginnings.
Well, and January is named after the goddess Janus, who's a goddess of new beginnings.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Me neither.
I was like, well, this is really interesting thinking about, when you think about, the time to reflect, the traditions and, some of the rituals we do.
Yeah.
I mean, as simple as a birthday party. Mm-hmm. Light those candles, make that wish.
Yes.
Things like that. Even like on New Year's, people bang their pots and pans, let off the fireworks, all the things at midnight, the toast.
Yeah.
Just the things that we do. I mean, I don't think we realize how much we do those things every day without realizing that's what we're doing.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier, and that makes so much sense. Yeah, these rituals that we all do every day. And I'll pull this in when we talk more later, but also those rituals or those habits that are so almost unconsciously in our brain that sometimes makes setting new habits hard because we do so much on automatic pilot.
So as a physician, and you've been doing your practice well over 20 some odd years.
Yeah.
What do you see from your patients or when you're talking with your patients when it comes to like New Year or goals, and not so much necessarily the New Year, like January 1, but just when they're trying to improve something, change those old habits and the patterns, and I can only imagine what that, obviously when we are successful at those things, we're great. We're happy.
Yes.
Happy serotonin. Happy things.
Dopamine. Yes.
There you go. That one.
Yeah.
The impact that it takes or does to us when we aren't quite so successful, even if we're doing all the right things. Mm-hmm. And it's like, why is it still not working?
Yeah. That's hard. And I think it really goes down to a mindset of if you do quote unquote fail, or get off task, can you look at it like, okay, why did that not work? And learning from it or really teasing it out. And I think when I talk to my patients and they're like, okay, well, you didn't meet that goal, but what did you learn in that process? And that can be a win to know what to do better for next time or what not to do. So it really does go back to a mindset of wanting, to learn. But it is interesting. I was giving a lot of thought to what kind of goals do I hear my patients saying they want to work on around this time of year? And it's usually around health. Sometimes it's around financial goals, health and financial goals. Sometimes some mental health things are the big things that I hear over and over again.
And when your patients are talking to you, when they talk about maybe some unresolved issues that are getting in their way, maybe some past experiences, maybe things that they haven't healed from or processed or sought closure, things like that. I think that feeling worthy.
Yeah.
There's just there's that mental stuckness, I think, and we've all had it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, definitely.
I had some yesterday.
Yeah.
So
right.
We can laugh at ourselves about that. Where you just, what that does to setting these goals and the social pressure. I mean, it's just this kind of intertwined labyrinth of matrix of things where it's just, we want to do these things, but there's something that we feel is holding us back. Mm-hmm. Then there's the social norms of what everybody's doing it. I better jump on it too.
Right.
Or if I tell them I'm setting goals, and I always thought maybe keep them to yourself.
Right.
And this is a team thing or something or family thing.
Yeah.
But if it is, so that way you don't have that pressure of people measuring you.
If you're a person that doesn't want someone asking about it, especially if you didn't hit your goal. But then there's other people who really thrive on that community and that accountability as well. So I think the biggest thing that happens, and this is also even not necessarily with New Year's resolutions, when I'm talking with my patients and they come in and they're like, I want to lose weight. I'm like, great. But it's then doing the baby steps of trying to figure out how that will actually happen. It's the planning. It's really planning and visualizing how that's going to happen. And I think people have to realize that these goals sometimes are going to take some work and some tedious work. Like, who really wants to prep their food for the week on Sunday? No one, but it works. If you've got this food prepped and you're going to eat your, pre-made protein versus running out to get fast food. So it's understanding the work involved, and that's important.
Looking at the goals, whether it's fitness, financial, maybe just some internal personal goals of achieving some goals or some things, that self-reflection and where do I want to be in 5 years, or where am I at right now, and that full assessment is looking at it more of a lifestyle as opposed to, because I think we get, especially, we have New Year's all the time, quite honestly. Every Monday's a New Year.
Yeah, right.
And then January 1st is the mothership of New Year, Mondays.
Right.
But, you think about when the kids go back to school.
Yeah.
We're going through all of their clothes and having to, because they've grown and this, and you're clearing stuff out and last year's school. And, whether it's time for summer, because we have a wedding coming, a reunion coming, the beach coming.
Right.
And so we kind of have these mini New Years throughout the year.
Yeah.
And those are the short term. But how to change that mindset to look at it as a lifestyle.
Yeah. And I think sometimes I think it's important to reflect why you want to do this goal. So, for example, I don't often set New Year's resolutions in the past, but this year I did, and it's a little one, and it's that I want to read more, actually read a book more, because I'll usually listen to podcasts, or many times I work up until it's time to go to bed and just go to bed. So my goal of reading more is to bring my book to the living room, where my husband is, have a little downtime with him, have a break between work, bed. And how I came to that was what can I do that's going to fulfill a couple things? More time with my husband, a little bit of downtime. And I was doing this the other night, and one of my kids came home from the gym, and he sat out with us and was talking, and then he left, and my husband was like, he probably wouldn't have done that. Usually he goes and finds you and tells you that story. So he was like, it was really nice for us all be here together. So I think it's for people trying to find out why they want this resolution, whether it's to look better. Well, why do you want to look better? Do you want to be healthier? So it takes a little work, a little reflection. So if it has meaning, you might be more apt to make the steps to have it done.
Well, and also meeting yourself and accepting yourself, embracing yourself at where you're at. That scale is going to be, this is where you're at. If you're maybe seeing your physician and maybe doing some blood work to see what's going on with your body, where am I at right now? I want to see, what do I need to work on? How are my levels? How's my blood pressure? How's my cholesterol? All those things, check under the hood type of stuff. But just maybe not happy with what you're seeing, but it's all right, this is where I'm at, and here's how I'm going to measure it. You hear, 10,000 steps. And I walk a lot, but then when I checked my app.
You're like, oh, I'm not moving.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
That was only 3,000?
Yeah.
But even then, don't beat yourself up over that. It's just, you don't have to do 10,000. Maybe try 1,000.
Right.
Just kind of learn about your body. Make yourself kind of a science project.
Sure.
And how everything operates.
Right.
So it's really interesting. That mindset is so important, whether it is your health, finances, where you're at in life. Take yourself on.
Yeah. And reflect, like you were just saying, what works for you. Like some of my patients, they want to do the labs because they need those numbers to be like, oh, my cholesterol is high. And then they're like, oh, I have a goal to get that down. Like that's a motivator for them, versus other people don't need that. So it's, again, giving yourself time to think about what motivates you, and that's going to take some reflection on what works. But I was going into is interesting too about this psychology of New Year's resolutions, and they're talking about, as humans, we are able to imagine the future, and not all animals are able to do that. So it's really kind of exciting to think about, we are able to imagine a better self, a better life. We can hopefully use that little spark to do that. But it's going to take more work than being like, oh, I'll just lose weight. Well, what does that mean?
What does that mean to
Yeah.
lose weight? How are we going to lose weight?
Yes.
But then if you're going on a diet, that always seems like you're being punished. You can't you have to take something away.
Yeah.
You're bad. Or, it has this kind of negative connotation.
Yeah.
That's where if you kind of maybe switch out lifestyle for
Yes.
diet.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
this is how I want to live and make different choices and even make that choice to be like, not this weekend. We're having a party, we're going camping, we're all these things, and enjoy that time.
There's even, not always even with the resolutions, I'll tell patients, like, there's the 80-20 rule. It's like what you're doing 80% of the time. You're allowed, like you said, you're allowed to have that birthday cake. That's that 20%. Because what can happen, and this is where people really have to look and feel for themselves out. If you just deprive yourself of all sugar or certain food groups, and then you really crave it, you might go overboard and just binge on that food, and that's just going to feel terrible too. I didn't come up with this. Something I was reading, they said, hey, say you want to eat less cookies, and you think about, okay, I ate, I used to eat 7 cookies a day. Well, okay, let's cut down on that, but find the best cookies and get 3 of those and have them over the week. So you don't have to cut it out completely and get rid of that joy, but really find ways to enjoy it when you do.
Exactly. It's that balance. Goals, how important they are.
Yeah.
Just for, I think, mental health and giving you purpose or that vision, looking forward to.
Yes.
But it's also personal, too. I
Right.
think sometimes we feel like we need to announce it.
Right. No.
And that work on self, which we hear so much about.
Right.
Work on self. Stay
Yeah.
grounded, be self-aware. What does
Right.
that mean? Well, I think when you start really kind of doing that deep dive, taking yourself on, and then
Yeah.
you do have that control.
And honestly, who is this all for? It's for, it's for yourself. Like, if that works for you to be in a community, and so you've got that accountability, that's great. But at the end of the day, you're trying to feel better. You're seeing a better version of yourself, and that could just be a healthier version that you feel better. Even though I obviously deal with a lot of health goals, but sometimes people will have they might have a New Year's resolution of, they want to do something better for the planet, and they want to save money. Well, what if they decide to walk to work? They decide to walk to work every day. Well, they're getting exercise, they're saving money. Say they used to buy gas and drive their car, and it's better for the planet. So it's trying to find maybe something simple that you could do that will hit several of your goals. Because if you're just going to be out there like, I'm going to save the planet and I'm going to save all my money, well, that's not going to work.
Yes, it's like, okay, well, how are we going to do this?
Right.
See, and that's really the challenge too. Is like, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, well, how are you going to do that?
Yes.
Like, so
Yep.
how are we going to measure that? I mean, yes, there's the scale,
Yeah.
which can be good or bad. There's your clothes. There's
Yeah.
how you're feeling.
Right.
There's all kinds of things, but understanding energy, calorie, how expenditure, like, what does that mean?
And some people can do it themselves, and then other people, like, maybe they need to work with a nutritionist, and just having that one person as their checkpoint versus being on a face group all about losing weight. But it is vision and planning. And another thing that comes up quite a bit in my practice is people want to drink less. And if they're just going to say, I'm going to stop drinking, well, it almost always fails, because they need to really think about, oh, well, I'm out in a social situation. Am I really going to be comfortable not having a glass of wine when that's what I do with my girlfriends? Or they end up having a drink and they give up. Well, that's not a failure, but it's also learning from that to be like, okay, maybe I need to say no or have one drink. So it's just thinking about how this is going to happen.
Well, and I think too, you're out with your friends and you're like, no, I don't want wine. I'm just going to have water, or iced tea, or whatever it is. But then maybe your friends apply that pressure.
Yep. Yes.
Or maybe you might be in a relationship and your partner isn't really
on board.
supportive.
Sure.
And maybe tries to sabotage.
Yes.
I know my dad did that to my mom. Anytime she'd talk about, and here come the ice cream, and Dad,
Yeah.
knock it off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
she's
it's just
trying.
about feeling better. And I think sometimes that does, when you're trying to improve yourself or change your lifestyle or do more of or less of whatever that happens to be, sometimes that will be a threat to
Yeah.
the people around you.
Yes.
So that social piece, you may not always get the support that, you know, if I have friends that are wanting to, you know, talk about diet, it doesn't threaten me.
Right.
I mean,
Good.
of course, if it's like, wow, you're losing weight really easy.
Yeah. You're just like, well, and hopefully that makes you reflect on like, hey, well, what are they doing? And
Right.
But it's hard. It's hard not to go down those little rabbit holes.
Exactly. And
Yes.
then, you know, but use that as inspiration, not as
A threat.
exactly.
Because again, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you're happy that they're losing weight, but that doesn't affect your health. It's just like, okay, priority, me, and how can I get to my goals?
And I think too, as we age, as we start, you know, that longevity piece.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
you know, I always reference the blue zones. You know, longevity. If you were said, Michelle, you're going to live to 100. What do you want that to look like? That's an eye opener.
Yes. You're like, I want to be able to move and be healthy and etc. Yeah, I had just with that drinking. I had a friend recently. She wanted to drink less, and it was really difficult because she was in a stressful situation. And she counted up, I forget how many it was, you know, how many drinks that she had per week, and maybe it was 17. And her goal was to get down to 7 drinks a week. And she's done it, but there was times I know she texted me and she's like, darn it, you know, I had 3 drinks or whatever. But she didn't see it as, she didn't give up. You know, it was a little blip for that week, and now she's just talking about, oh my gosh, I have so much more energy, I'm waking up with more energy, and it's a process. And I think sometimes drinking or snacking, it's also subconscious. Like there's so many things that we do without even thinking about it. So you have
Yes.
to use the awareness and do the work.
Well, and that's just it. When you, especially since we're talking about food, is what sugar does to our system, and how it's a companion piece. You know, that emotional eating, what eating sugar or alcohol, what that does, the coping strategies.
Yes.
Yeah, as a realtor, I'm on the road quite a bit. You know, that little caramel macchiatos is my little passenger. Like, just come with me while I have to drive to 3 different counties.
Right.
But then I realized it. It's like, this cup of diabetes really isn't in my best interest.
Yes.
But it's so fun.
Yeah, it is fun, and but again, it's a habit. It's a habit.
And just and being able to laugh at yourself. I think that's the thing, is like, oh wow, I guess I do that.
Yeah.
Why am I reaching for the candy jar as I'm walking past?
Right.
And we don't even think about it.
And sometimes with the sugar, because I'll mention to people, is there something else in your life that's sweet? And I mean that on like, you know, it fulfills you, it, you know, makes you happy. And so like you take it, you know, if you're trying to reduce sugar, like, oh yeah, when I pet my dog, you know, it's sweet, it's nice. So trying to find those other things that are like sweet in your life.
And then realizing, am I bored?
Right.
Is there something emotional going on that's causing me to go run to whatever it is? You know, just that little self-awareness too. And also, I think, you know,
I deserve this. I need this. Sorry, I got you off.
No, it's right. Well, and I think, you know, when you decide to, especially if you go cold turkey, which we all tend to do, you know, I'm not going to have any sugar, I'm not going to have any caffeine, I'm not going to do this, but you will go through withdrawals. If you're like, I don't know, say you're getting ready for a medical procedure, no caffeine, no whatever, those headaches and the withdrawals come in. And that's why some people were like, well, just do half decaf and half kind of wean yourself off.
Right.
And I think that was something that I didn't, when I first had that experience, didn't realize. 'Cause I'm like, I don't feel good, and I'm grumpy and I'm irritable.
Yes.
And it's like, well, I'm going back to that. But if you understand what it's doing to your body, and understanding, yes, you're going through withdrawals because sugar is so addictive.
Oh, it is. It's in it's just in everything. But yeah, I was looking that up. Even like detoxing from, it was sugar and alcohol fits in there too, but headaches, you can even have a little bit of heart palpitations. Your blood pressure can go up a little bit because you're kind of stressed. You're wanting something that you can't have. I mean, mean, yeah, you can have nausea, anxiety. It's difficult.
Not fun to be around.
No, yeah. And so it's just giving yourself the grace of like, oh, I am going to feel crappy for a little bit,
and then
that's
understanding
all right.
that.
Yes.
It's like, no, okay, this is a withdrawal, which is actually in a counterintuitive way a positive thing.
Right.
That means your body's detoxing.
Yes.
And at some point, if you eliminate enough sugar for a length of time, when you reintroduce it, you're not going to like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to taste so sweet.
Yes.
So sweet.
So it's kind of interesting how if you just, it's that mindset. Even, and you can apply this to, I mean, of course, we're talking about food, but at the same time, you can do this about all kinds of, your finances too,
Yeah, it's true. It's just stopping sometimes, taking the time, thinking about what are you going to have to do these changes. And there are some people who have to go cold turkey or they're not going to do it. But most of the time, I have found that people have been more successful when they've planned, done smaller steps, built on those successes. So say they have like, hey, yeah, I cut down my drinks in half this week. I don't know, they should put a sticker on their calendar or something, and then they can look at how many stickers they've got.
Reward yourself.
Yes.
Celebrate yourself. Whatever that is.
Yes.
Whether, I mean, even if it's a drink.
Yeah.
Just reward yourself for it.
Yes.
And give yourself that credit, because we don't typically do that.
No, we don't.
And acknowledge, maybe this week wasn't so great, but there are some things, and you should be doing that regardless. Whether it has to do with food. And we don't really acknowledge the things that we do.
Yeah.
Things we've overcome.
Yeah.
The achievements, just all of it. We just kind of just keep going.
Yep. Again, that's that automatic. And, again, the New Year's, okay, we're stopping and we're reflecting and we're trying to think about like imagining ourselves being better, being different. Maybe try to do that in small bits. Every day might be too much. Some people do that. They reflect every day on like, oh, how was my day? But at the end of the week of revisualizing, having like you were saying, every Monday is almost like a new Year's. But yeah, again, like taking that time to think about, what you did well this week and like, oh, I didn't do so well there, but why? Was I stressed? Oh, look at that. I go to have sugar when I'm stressed.
Talking about those goals and not doing a big pile on yourself.
Yes.
Maybe just focus on one at a time. And also evaluating what is going on in your life.
Yeah.
Because life will throw those curveballs where sometimes these goals go clear out. It's like 2026, we'll try again.
Yeah, right.
Depending on, the life things, whether you're moving, maybe there's a death in the family, maybe it's a job change, maybe there's, it just doesn't matter where some things really do consume. Even if it's a wedding.
Yeah.
So, just kind of showing yourself some grace and then just doing the best you can and being okay with that.
Yes, that's all anybody. And honestly, if you fail, and I don't even like to say fail, you still were doing the best that you could at that point. So if you want to do better, then you figure out how to do better. But yeah, I do find, like I said, the smaller steps, what works, really thinking about why you want, what's the purpose? Why do you want to do this? Like you said, do you want to just be healthier? So when you live to be 100, you're still climbing stairs. Why do you want to do that?
Well, that's been my goal for the past couple of years, especially since this back surgery that I had. Is my goal is I just want to get up off the floor without having to grab something or the sound effects.
Yes.
I want to get up and down without assistance. I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's okay. That's
all right. You're working on it.
But I'm laughing about it.
Right.
And here, just because we just have a few minutes, but also when you hear, because I'm talking about just a real quick teaser, because we're going to really dive into this topic next month.
Yeah.
Is
this is going to be good.
Is talking about when you just need to move more and eat less.
Oh, sure, that'll solve everything.
And it's like, well, yes, in theory.
Yeah, right.
That works.
That was sarcastic when I said that'll solve everything.
But there are times, definitely, where it's like, it doesn't matter what I do. The weight's not budging. And, and how frustrating is that? And sometimes that's really an easy thing where you are doing all the things.
Yes.
Maybe you're tracking everything and you're really just doing everything. And it's still not working.
Yeah.
What would be the quick advice for that? There clearly is something going on.
Sure. I mean, in my practice, I do a lot of hormone work. And so, say I had someone come and, say that to me and they haven't had workup for like thyroid, male or female hormones. But I've also become, I'm like, researching this like crazy. The GLP-1 protein peptides, they're pretty amazing, and not just so much for the weight loss aspect, just the longevity aspect of these peptides. And I've started using them in my practice and in very small doses for most people. They're really pretty amazing. Not just for like, I'm not as hungry, I don't eat as much. It's just the research on the cardiovascular disease health. There's a study with kidney disease that the people who weren't getting the GLPs, they stopped the study because they were like, this is unethical not to give them these GLP-1s because the people who are getting them, their kidney disease was being reversed. So there's just some amazing information coming out about those.
Well, and that's just it. The GLP-1, for those aren't familiar with that, is probably most notably known as like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro. That we're hearing all this. All of a sudden now it's a fad to take these peptides, but which I think obviously there is some abuse with that. Which
absolutely.
I think that
you got to do the things. So
you have to do your part. Yep. But also it's understanding what these are. These have been around for years, 20, 30
decades.
I saw something clear back to 1964.
Right.
Not necessarily maybe the GLP-1, but the peptide itself, the semaglutide.
Right.
So it's really interesting how it's regenerative and it's healing, and it is something that our body does make.
Right. Our
so
body
it's a
makes
tool.
It. Right. And is it something, I don't know if there's research on this yet, like just like, you go through menopause and for men in their 50s, their testosterone starts to drop. Is there just an aspect where these peptides decrease and you start making less and we're just replacing it to where you should be? I mean, it's kind of a theory that I've been running with.
We're going to do a deep dive on that in February.
Yes.
There's so much to it.
Yes.
But it is, if somebody is going, my body's not working. Maybe I don't have the energy. I just can't. What's going on? And, and then, but you appear very healthy. I mean, typically we don't necessarily give individuals that maybe don't have a physical, something we can see, whether it's
something just obvious on the outside.
Right.
If you look healthy, you must be healthy. Well,
move less. Move more, eat less. It's not always.
Oh, yeah.
And
it doesn't always work.
So if that is the case, doing some blood draws.
Yeah.
Doing a little deeper dive, let's see what's really going on. But also, and that's another topic, is how to know how deep of a dive to do, because not all physicians do that. So, and then how do you have that conversation?
Yes.
So
that'll be
another topic.
Yeah,
Maybe that's March.
That would be a good one. Yes.
How to really advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, we're almost out of time.
Oh, it always flies by. We have so much fun.
But there's just so much to it as far as just being kind to yourself and taking that minute. I love when you said at home, you would usually just go in your room and read your book. Your son would come in and find you. But now that you're out in the living room, now we're having the family discussion.
Yeah.
Which is really, it's like, well, look at that benefit that you didn't even expect or anticipate.
Right.
It's the little things that you pick up on that you just, that ripple effect.
Exactly.
How dare I say that?
Yeah. And I'm putting stickers on my calendar. I've got these little that says, I read. And I'm like, ooh, I've got 3 for those this week.
I think I usually do a trip to Sephora or something.
I love it.
Do that. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. And a special thank you to Dr. Jackson.
You're welcome.
And, February is going to be all about semaglutides, which most commonly known now as Ozempic, that type of product and what that's really doing for the body.
Excellent. It'll be a good one.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Dawn Newton podcast, and a special thank you to my guest, Dr. Michelle Jackson, joining us today to talk all things New Year. More information about Dr. Jackson can be found at drjacksonnd.com, and be sure and check out my website, dawnnewton.com. The Dawn Newton podcast is written, produced, and hosted by Dawn Newton.